Bitcoin is about to make a huge move next, but 99% out of people don't expect this move for Bitcoin. There is a lot to talk about for Bitcoin today, so in this video I will tell you everything you need to know to be prepared for this week. We have a CME gap to talk about, but there are also a lot of interesting formations I will talk about with you in this video. There's also a lot of interesting news coming into the market, which I will discuss, and of course there's also a lot of interesting data coming in for the Bitcoin and the Ethereum ETFs. Later in the video I will also analyze two altcoins, and that will be Vechain and Pepecoin. So you want to watch this video all the way to the end, you don't miss anything. Please slap up that like button because it will help this channel a lot, and let's dive right into the charts. On Friday, Bitcoin opened the CME gap around to $100,579, just like I said in my video of Saturday. And as I was expecting Bitcoin to be trading around this level, and eventually we will see a close of the gap shortly after the weekend is closed, and Bitcoin closed the gap perfectly, just like I said and just like I expected. We are now seeing a little bit of a decline for Bitcoin, so this could be the start of a little bit of a correction. But of course we are still trading around this level and we are very close to the $100,000. So in this video I'm going to tell you exactly what we can expect for Bitcoin in the coming week and what kind of formations will play out in the coming days. If we zoom into the 1 hour time frame, we can see that Bitcoin was creating this huge consolidation formation with multiple touch points on the top side as resistance, and also on the lower side we can see a lot of touch points as support. Eventually this price of Bitcoin was getting squeezed into an apex, and during the course of the weekend we saw that Bitcoin was breaking bearish, but we can also see that we see a little bit of an uptrend happening, but also a decline. But if we have a look at this lower side support area, we can see that Bitcoin broke bearish, then created two bearish retests, and from here you could have entered the market in a short, because we are seeing a beautiful bearish retest because this support area was getting broken to the downside, and now we are seeing a retest to test it as resistance. So this area is now acting as resistance, but of course we can see that Bitcoin is coming back to this resistance area and eventually maybe break it to the top side and create more bullish momentum to the top side. But of course after this bearish break we could also see that after this bearish retest we could see a little bit of a correction happening, and that we have to aim for lower targets. And last week we saw a very bullish week for the Bitcoin and the Ethereum ETFs. In total we are now coming above the $33.4 billion in total for the total cumulative inflow for the Bitcoin ETFs, and we're seeing that spike to the top side, and this is very bullish. So I think we will see the $40 billion maybe before the end of this year, and that of course will be insane. So let's see what will happen for the Bitcoin ETFs in this week. And also the Ethereum ETF saw a very bullish last 2 weeks. And yeah, in total we are now coming above the $1.4 billion in total cumulative inflow. So also the Ethereum ETF is picking up steam, and we will see a lot of interesting moves for Ethereum as well. Because when we see a lot of inflows into the Ethereum and the Bitcoin ETFs, also the prices of those coins will be pumped very big. And if we zoom into the 2 hour time frame, we can see that Bitcoin is in this huge uptrend, and we can see this huge support trend line unfolding on the lower side with multiple touch points here as support. And every time we touch this support level we saw a beautiful bounce to the top side. So this uptrend is still intact for Bitcoin. So let's see if Bitcoin comes back to the support area, and if we're going to see a touch again, and then we could possibly see another bounce from this level. But of course we could also see a bearish scenario unfold, that we're eventually going to break this upward sloping support area, and that we're going to see a retest of the support to test it as resistance, and from there we have to aim for a lower target. And this would be a very beautiful short trade to make for Bitcoin, because this huge upward sloping support line is a very critical line. So if we're going to see a break below it, we could aim for a bearish retest, and then you can aim for a short trade. But of course we have to wait for confirmation of the break, because after we touch this area we could also see a very big bounce to the top side, and then we just create a uptrend to the top side, because eventually the trend is your friend until it ends. And if we zoom out to the 4 hour time frame, we can see that Bitcoin is creating this huge formation. We can see a lot of touch points on the top side as resistance, and on the lower side we can see multiple touch points as support. And also we can see the price of Bitcoin was getting squeezed into this apex. Eventually we saw a big pump to the top side. Then we saw that flash crash occurring on Thursday, And we also can see that this huge resistance area was getting turned into support, and from this area you could have entered the market for Bitcoin, and then you could have made a very interesting trade. And from this bullish retest you could have made an interesting gain of more than 5% already. So this was a very beautiful trade, especially when you are leverage trading. So let's see what Bitcoin can do. We now broke bullish out of this huge consolidation formation, and let's see if we can just continue the bullish uptrend to the top side. And of course we could also see that Bitcoin is going to create another retest to this area and maybe see a little bit of a bearish move. But of course, if Bitcoin is coming back to this area, I'm also again very interested in a long trade for Bitcoin, because this huge resistance area was getting turned into support. So I don't think we will see a break right after it. And I think we will just see more and more touches of this area, and eventually I think we will just pump above the $100,000 because there's a lot of buying pressure coming into the market. And yesterday there was a very interesting news article coming in, and that was that the Amazon shareholders call on its board to consider investing in Bitcoin. And of course Amazon is one of the biggest companies in the world, so imagine if they are going to invest in Bitcoin, and that will be of course very big. So here is the statement of the Amazon board, and shareholders request that the board conduct an assessment to determine if adding Bitcoin to the company's treasury is in the best long-term interest of shareholders. So they want Amazon to invest in Bitcoin because they think it will be very good for their future. So this means that a lot of companies could maybe follow. So Microsoft is already planning to buy Bitcoin, now Amazon, and maybe Apple is next. And we can also maybe see that Nvidia is going to be next. So when all these big companies are going to invest in Bitcoin, I think we will see prices of above $200,000 for Bitcoin. And zooming out to the 4-hour time frame, we can also see that Bitcoin turned this beautiful horizontal resistance into support. And after we saw multiple touch points here as resistance, we broke bullish, we retested this as support. Then we saw another touch because this huge flash crash was happening on Thursday, and we can see this huge support area was getting respected very carefully. So this is looking very bullish. And I also said that I was going to buy more Bitcoin if we're going to come back to this green box of accumulation. And my orders were getting hit after this flash crash, and I'm already up for more than 10% on this Bitcoin trade. So congratulations if you took this trade together with me, and if you followed my lead in my latest videos, because I've been telling you about this huge green box of accumulation, and you could have placed your orders here as well. So let's see if Bitcoin can now just continue the bullish uptrend to the top side, because on this 4-hour time frame we are still in a huge bullish uptrend. And of course, as I was saying, the trend is your friend until it ends. But of course we could also see a little bit of a bearish trend, that we're going to come back to this huge support area and maybe see a break to the downside, a retest of the support to test it as resistance, and then we have to aim for lower targets. But of course we are still in this uptrend, as I said. So I think Bitcoin will just pump above the $100,000 in this coming week. And zooming out to the daily time frame, we can see that Bitcoin is still in this huge higher low and higher high play. And of course Bitcoin created this higher high, and we also saw that we broke above this huge resistance area and retested it as support. So this is still a very beautiful higher low play, and if this support is holding strong, we can now see that Bitcoin is just going to create another bullish leg up, and then we will just see another higher high unfolding. And of course that will also mean that we're going to see a new all-time high. So the all-time high has been above the $100,000, and it was around the $105,000. But of course we now want to see a separation of those levels, and that we're going to see more exponential move to the top side. And if we zoom out to the weekly time frame, we can see that Bitcoin was in this huge bull flag formation, and this bull flag formation had a breakout target of $110,000, and that will be around this level. So there is still a little bit of room for Bitcoin to grow. And I think if Bitcoin is going to touch this area, we could see a little bit of a correction happening, and that we're going to see a higher low play. And eventually we will just see a continuation of the bullish uptrend. So this Bitcoin breakout target of this bull flag hasn't been reached yet, but it could be happening in this coming days, and that eventually we're going to reach this $110,000. And if we zoom out all the way to the monthly time frame, we can see that Bitcoin broke above the previous all-time high of the last cycle. Eventually we saw a huge consolidation happening for almost 7 or 8 months, and eventually on October and November and now December we are seeing very much green candles. So this is a very bullish chart, and the month of November was the most bullish month ever for Bitcoin, and we saw the biggest rise for Bitcoin ever. and we saw a 26,000 increase in 1 month. So this is insane, of course. So let's see if December can also end in green, and eventually we want to see a big separation of this level, and that we're going to see exponential moves just like we saw in the last bull market. So we are now seeing a green December, but let's see if we can just continue the bullish uptrend. And also a very interesting news article was coming in yesterday, and that was that Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft and other 10 companies hold 811 billion in cash and 0 Bitcoin. So they are just having this cash on the sidelines, and they are losing their purchasing power every year because of the inflation. So I think they should be investing in Bitcoin just like MicroStrategy. And we all know the example of MicroStrategy. They are growing very, very rapid because they are investing in Bitcoin very big. So for instance, if all these companies are going to invest in Bitcoin, we will see a huge buying pressure coming into the market, which will be very bullish for the price of Bitcoin. And because of the Bitcoin ETFs, they are now allowed and they can now invest to Bitcoin through those ETFs. And the first altcoin I want to have a look at is Pepe. We can see that Pepe was in this huge decline for the last months, and I've been monitoring Pepe for a long time. We finally broke bullish, we retested this huge horizontal resistance area as support, and from this level we entered the market for Pepe in a long, and now we're seeing this bullish momentum to the top side, and we saw a beautiful pump. So the bull market for Pepe is also very much in play, and we can also see that yesterday and today we created a new all-time high for Pepe, so this is looking very bullish. And we also saw this huge consolidation formation happening on the daily time frame after this big bullish uptrend. And after this consolidation, we are finally breaking bullish. So this is looking very good for Pepe. And let's see what we can expect for Pepe next. And after this huge bullish break and a huge new all-time high, Pepe is now surpassing the $10 billion in market cap. So this is now one of the biggest meme coins ever. And of course, I think we will see more price actions in the coming months. So if we zoom in on the 4-hour time frame for Pepe, we can see that we broke out bullish of this huge consolidation formation. But of course, we could also see a little bit of a throwback to test this topside resistance as support. And if Pepe is coming back to this support, we could enter the market for Pepe in a long. And this would be a very interesting place to buy more Pepe, because after this retest, you want to enter the market if you want to enter the market for Pepe. And this could be the play you could be waiting for. So place your orders and just wait for a correction to happen, and then you can aim for higher targets. And of course, if you're holding Pepe in your portfolio already, it is not a bad time to take some profit, because we are at all-time highs. And let me know in the comments if you hold Pepe in your portfolio and what you think about the future of Pepe. And the next interesting altcoin I want to have a look at is Vechain. I've also been monitoring Vechain for the last months, and I've been telling you that every time we go lower, I was buying more of Vechain, and especially at this lower side of support, we saw a very big green box of accumulation unfolding. And every time we touched this level, I was buying more Vechain, just like I said in my videos. And eventually this huge falling wedge formation was finally breaking out to the top side. We retested this previous support again, and from there we entered the market for Vechain in a long, and we made a very big trade. And I've been sharing this trade on my socials and in my latest videos. And from this huge green box of accumulation, we have made more than a 300% increase. So this is an insane trade, of course, to make. And after this huge bullish uptrend, and after this huge bullish breakout of this falling wedge formation, we also saw that Vechain was creating multiple consolidation formations, and eventually we saw more topside continuation. So this was looking very bullish. And if we now zoom in on the 4-hour time frame, we can see that Vechain is creating another consolidation formation. We can see multiple touch points on the top side as resistance, and we can also see this horizontal support is unfolding on the lower side. So eventually this price of Vechain is getting squeezed into its apex, and we could either see a break to the top side, a retest of the resistance to test it as support, and from there we can enter the market in the long and aim for higher prices. But of course there's also a bearish scenario possible, that we're going to see a break below the support area, that we eventually go and see a retest of this previous support to test it as resistance, and then we can aim for lower targets. And this could also be a very healthy correction, because after we broke this huge resistance area to the top side, we didn't even retest it as support yet. So we could come back also to this lower side support, and every time Vechain is going a little bit lower, I'm going to buy every time we touch this huge horizontal resistance slash support areas. So for now, Vechain is in this huge consolidation formation. So let's see what will happen in this coming week. So for now we can see that Bitcoin closed the CME gap and this is looking very beautiful, so we can now trade freely during the week. And I'm also keeping my eye out on this huge bearish retest, so we could also see a little bit of more lower side from here. And keep in mind that this could happen in the coming hours. So this was it for today. Please leave a like if you think the video was useful and it will help this channel a lot. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.